You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns. Welcome back to Chakras and Shotguns, episode 2. I'm Jenn.
And I'm Mik. Welcome back.
Yay!
We're so glad you're back. We hoped you loved our first episode where we really gave you guys our journey from both the spiritual and the preparedness standpoint.
Yeah, I'm really excited. That was definitely a labor of love to get to this point of saying that we have a second episode.
As we did in our first episode, we want to begin episode 2 with breath work as well. And so for this episode, let's do some 4-7-8 breath work. This is a technique that is proven to help you get into a more relaxed state. It's really simple. We're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, then we'll hold the breath for 7 seconds and exhale for 8 seconds. You want to make sure you're breathing with your diaphragm, that you can really feel your breath in your belly. So let's take a second and do 3 of those. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold the breath for 7. Exhale for 8 fully. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold the breath for 7. And exhale for 8. One last time. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold the breath for 7. And exhale fully for 8. All right. Hopefully you guys are in a relaxed state now.
Yes. And if you like, feel free to set an intention for this time together. It could be anything, as long as we're keeping it positive, maybe to be mindful, present in this moment, be grateful that you have this moment to listen to something that you enjoy. And yeah. We wanted to start the show with a segment that we're calling As Seen on TV. So as we've become more expansive in our thinking on spirituality, it's been really interesting with pop culture references popping up in media that we would have normally consumed. So I wanted to give a couple examples of how we're seeing this expansion and rising consciousness appearing in entertainment.
Absolutely. We've had that moment where we're on the couch watching TV and it looks just like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme that's become super popular now, where it's like, ooh, we're pointing at the screen like, did you catch that? And it's like super relevant to maybe something we were reading or discussing.
Yeah. And
in the past, we probably would have missed it and not said anything.
Mm-hmm. So I had a couple of examples. I think the show just released their second season. We just started watching the first one. We're big Marvel fans, and it's Cloak and Dagger. It's on Hulu right now. So in the first season, no spoilers. In the first season, the main character he goes on a voodoo tour. It's set in New Orleans, and he goes on a voodoo tour. And I've seen a million references to voodoo before in entertainment. I love anything supernatural. But this one was a little bit different. They actually took the time to go a little deeper, to not make it so, I don't know, what's the word you would say?
One note.
Yeah. Commercial. They went a little deeper. They talked about the Loa. They talked about, he had a spiritual bath. And so the depth there was actually really Wow. They really went there. It was pretty accurate from what we know about voodoo. The other example that I wanted to give was High on the Hog. It just got released on Netflix not too long ago. And it's by a Black journalist who is talking about basically African Americans' influence on American cuisine. And there's a scene, I believe it's the second to last episode of the limited series, and the chef had made pepper pot. And they asked him, where'd you get the recipe? And he said, I actually don't use a recipe. I actually just kind of feel my way through it. And I feel that's my way of connecting with the ancestors. And I was really taken aback in a good way that we see this display of ancestral veneration, honoring the ancestors, feeling that connection to the people who have passed on before you, knowing that they're never gone. So yeah, those are two examples that I wanted to give. I just thought that was interesting. And
absolutely, thanks for that, Jen. I think you really highlighted a couple places that people may have seen those programs and didn't really catch some of the things that were being mentioned there. So
yeah,
it's just interesting to kind of see how we're along this journey and continuing to kind of see these synchronicities pop up in different places.
Yeah, that High on the Hog one, it was very, very quick, very subtle, but it was very beautiful watching those Black people eat this meal and talk about the people who paved the way before them. So let's jump into our main topic, Mik. You want to introduce it?
Yeah, so today we are going to talk and dive into meditation. We think for both of us, this was kind of the start of like us really diving into different types of spiritual topics. I think as we, over the past year, have really deepened our meditation practice, we've just grown so much internally that I think it's just opened doors that we didn't expect. I think it's been personally like a gateway drug for me.
Yeah. Opening doors, opening chakras, all of that. It's that time to get still. I think it really, I'm so tired of saying expansive, but I don't know what other word to use. I think it makes you a little bit more connected, a little bit more grounded, and it just continues to build on itself. So I love meditation.
Absolutely. So let's dive a little bit into what exactly meditation is. I think, there's a lot of different definitions out there. But for me, if I were to just simplify it, I think it's really just using techniques to stabilize your mind. Whether that's quieting your mind down. It's really hard to kind of be free of any thoughts, but you're trying your best basically to not be distracted by things that may be going on in your life and those thoughts that are always going to pop up.
Right.
But it's really just this idea of trying to find some stability and relax and kind of slow your brain down.
Right. For sure. And getting connected with your breath, which reinforces that mind, body, spirit connection. I think sometimes we don't even realize that we're holding our breath. We're in these very tense moments as we're trying to juggle career and family and bills and what are we eating for dinner and all of those things. And you might not realize that you're holding your breath, that you're clenching your jaw.
Absolutely. Or just breathing really shallow. It's one of the things we want to do on the podcast as we start every episode is to help people loosen up and really feel that belly breath and fill their lungs completely and get the air completely out of their lungs. Because it's something that we don't take the time to do all the time.
Yeah. I think also, as we're talking about that holding your breath thing, one of the things I've been reading is about the very primal fight or flight response. And that's triggered by stress and was initially programmed for us to get away from a lion, not die in the woods. And now it's, my inbox has so many emails. I have this due. I have that due. My kid has to get to soccer practice. What am I going to do? What are we going to eat for dinner? Where are we going to go? And it's the constant thinking and stressing and releasing of these hormones where your body is primed and waiting for a lion to attack.
Exactly. And most of us at least, are not in a position where we have to avoid predatory animals.
Right.
And so we are sending these signals to our body, and it's shutting down other systems that could be benefiting us. And so I think meditation is a way to kind of calm that down, get you back to a state of homeostasis, to where you're a little more even keeled and can address some of those stressors without triggering that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about our practice. I think what's interesting about you and I is that we both got really into meditation around the same time, but our practices of meditation look really different. So talk a little bit about your journey into meditation, how you first kind of started into it, and then what it looks like for you as time has kind of gone on.
Yeah. I think I've tried to meditate multiple times over the years and just sit for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but the mind was moving. It's like, does Real Housewives of New York come on tonight or tomorrow night? It was, stuff that does not matter. And then if you have a brain like mine and you're just going from thought to thought to thought, New York, Little Italy, what about lasagna? I could pick up a lasagna, and you're just going. And so I was one of those people that's like, I don't really think meditation's for me. But when I got into yoga, I think one thing that people don't realize is that you don't have to be still in a dark room in pure silence to meditate. Yoga is very meditative for me. I'm only listening to the teacher's cues and moving my body, and it almost becomes instinctual, like knowing where we're going, especially as we're building on flows. That's meditative. My brain shuts off. And that gets me to that place. During COVID, the meditation that we started, I think I started trying to do about 10 minutes, and then realizing that, no, I could stay a little bit longer. So I can usually go for 15 to 20 minutes of meditation. And the brain pops up and says things and wants to remind me of things.
And talk a little bit about, are you in silence? Do you listen to music? Do you like to listen to guided meditations? What works best for you?
I like Insight Timer, and I can set for how long I want it to go. I like binaural beats. That's BINAURAL beats. And so they're set at a certain frequency, and it's supposed to trigger different reactions in your body. So you can listen to them for like transcendence or positivity. So I like binaural beats. I like chanting, like the monks chanting. And it's like, it kind of fades into the background for me. So I usually do that. And I usually just go through each of my chakras and then try and really get into that almost like trance-like state. And I used to fall asleep a lot, especially having 2 kids. And I think when I started, I was pregnant. So I was knocked out. And I used to beat myself up for that. But I was talking to one of our teachers that we really love. And she said, sleep is the deepest form of meditation that you can ever have. And so never beat yourself up for that, for falling asleep.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So I think in contrast, for me, I don't have the attention span to stay in a meditative state for 15 minutes. I've tried. I think my story is similar to Jen in that, I didn't think meditation was for me. I didn't think sitting in silence could work for me. But I slowly tried it. I also used the Insight Timer app. But for me, my introduction was really focused around guided meditations. I kind of needed someone to talk me through exactly what I should be focused on telling me how to breathe, telling me where I should place my attention, where my focus should be. Should I be focusing on a spot in the center of my forehead as I close my eyes, right? So those types of instructions were really helpful for me. Now, I have tried to do some of the sit in silence, but I can't go past 5 minutes. Like my mind just kind of, it comes back on and it's like, hey, all right, it's time to do something different. But if I'm in a guided meditation, I can stay 15, 20 minutes. And then I've also tried, I think Jenn alluded to it a little bit when she talked about her yoga practice. For me, active meditation is really important for me. So I'll take a walk and I'll go by myself, and I won't really set a route. I'll just kind of wander and let my mind wander as well. And that really can be a place of meditation for me as well.
Yeah. Even though I'm not sitting in silence, I do think that I end up doing some sound deprivation or sensory deprivation. So eye mask, it really like blocks out that light. And I feel like it really gets you into that I don't want to call it the void, but it's kind of like this space of nothingness. So then you can stop your mind from moving so much. And the sounds, it can't be too busy. You can't have a lot of birds chirping, and there are a lot of busy sounds. So it's something that needs to almost be like audio wallpaper.
Sure. Absolutely. So I think that gives folks, I think, a good idea of what our meditation practices look like. If you were designing a meditation for someone who, they've had trouble with it before, can't really get their mind to shut down, they're struggling to like really find that meditation routine that works for them, what would you suggest them to try?
I would probably suggest that they make it part of their self-care, that they create a ritual around it, like light your favorite candle, maybe some incense, get into a really comfortable position or a really comfortable spot in your home. What else? I
mean, I think you're right on with setting the space, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of the things we've done that I think folks can incorporate: burning incense, having the sensory engaged in a relaxing way, right? So having that sacred space. And I would recommend, if you're going to start a meditation practice, to try and find a space. Try out a few different spaces, but once you kind of find the right space, stick with that space. And that alerts your body when you go into that space that it's time to meditate, that it's time to relax, and it's time to get into that state.
Same time of day too, if you can. That also, you're also trying to get your mind and your body into this routine of like, okay, this is when we quiet down.
Yeah. And it took me a while to find that for me. I think I tried the morning, I tried middle of the day, I tried the evening, and there were different feelings that I got depending on what time of day. And I've kind of figured out that the mid-afternoon is kind of the best place for me now. But it took a while. That took some kind of trial and error to get there.
I'd also say, if as you're trying to ease into this, and the idea of sitting down in silence just sounds like something you would not necessarily want to do, start with gratitude. If you are part of practicing religion, I pray in mine and just express gratitude for however I'm feeling, for the things that I'm grateful for. And I think that also sets the tone, because even in that, you're focused in that moment, and you're focused on gratitude. You're not worried about who's calling or who's emailing or what else you have to do that day. Also, set your phone on Do Not Disturb.
Definitely do that. I'd also want to say there's a great program on Netflix that Headspace did, and it talks about meditation, and they give this analogy about being on the side of a highway and imagining your thoughts as if they were the cars that were going on the highway and just kind of let those thoughts pass by without acknowledging, what kind of car it was, for example, or acknowledging that thought that was happening. So just kind of acknowledge the thought, let it pass by to really kind of help you clear your mind. Like you're not going to stop thinking, but you can choose how you interact with your thoughts.
Yeah. And then the only thing else I would say about it is try and have fun with it. It doesn't have to be so serious. I think sometimes people think it's so serious and that you're about to join a monastery, but it's not. It's time for yourself, and it's time to check in for yourself, by yourself. And as a parent, it's also time for me to, be by myself and not have a small person attached to me and just like be in my own body and be present and not be thinking about what's coming next, and also not worried about anything that happened before, and just really being in that moment and in that space.
I think that's great. And I think for us, it's been really helpful that we are both into meditation because we've reminded each other, set aside space, said, hey, do you want to go meditate right now? Making sure that the other person is getting that medicine that they need from that meditation. So I think that's been super important for both of us.
Yeah, for sure.
So how long do you have to meditate? Is there a set amount of time that you think that newbie needs to meditate?
I don't like rules and routine. I know we just had this entire episode about routine, but I mean, I'm a little bit more flexible on that. I think, it's stamina. It's a muscle. It's a mental muscle. And so sit down, and if you commit to 5, but you only get to 2 and you're like, I'm just not with it today, give yourself grace.
2 minutes is better than 0 minutes.
Exactly. And try again another day and just see how you feel. I think sometimes the results will surprise you. I think sometimes people think that they're just sitting there and nothing's happening. You don't know what might happen in your meditation. You don't know what chakras might be open, what might come up, what might come through. I remember I sat down. This was probably at the height of COVID, and I sat down to do a meditation, and it was on gratitude, but I was so stressed that I felt like I was about to have a panic attack. And I was like, well, this isn't working. This just isn't working. But it was something that needed to come out. It was something that I was probably holding on to for dear life that needed to come up and out. So, just try it.
Absolutely. I can echo what Jenn is saying about things just coming up. You're in there and you're starting to confront some emotions and some feelings, some thoughts that maybe you experienced and pushed aside. But then when you're in that space alone, listening to your breath, that bubbles up and you get to process that and release it. Mm-hmm. And it's therapeutic in a lot of ways. I would really just say meditation, over the last year has really changed my life. And so I tell everyone who is, struggling with any sort of issue in their life to start with that if they can.
Anything else?
I would just want to challenge our listeners. If you can take 2 minutes, you can start tomorrow, take 2 minutes and really find time to sit quietly, listen to your breath, do some of the exercises that we do at the beginning of our podcast episode.
Yeah.
And just listen to your body.
See what comes up. I'm excited. Before we go, just want another reminder, listener questions, anything that's on your mind, anything you want us to talk about, please send us an email at chakrasandshotguns@gmail.com.
Thanks. And remember to hit the subscribe button. We would really appreciate a 5-star review. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Namaste.